Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Cocoa Nomad channel. And this is yet another weekly retrospective where I talk about what I'm working on and encourage you to follow along with the same format. So let's go ahead and dive in. And the first thing is what went well this past week. And there's a few good things. Like, I'm really pleased with what happened the past week. The first thing that went really well was that more socializing. I was out and about with friends. Being the introvert that I am, got me out to do a few more things. And one of those things was hanging out at Hobbitenango, which is a small Hobbit-like village, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, in the outskirts of Antigua, right up the mountain, past the Cerro de la Cruz, and we went up and we spent the entire day. We'd been there on the previous Sunday, but we only got to spend about an hour and a half there and decided that it would be worth exploring and doing more. There's games to be played there. There was a huge swing where you could go swing out. I didn't participate in the swing. I had just eaten. I ate a lot, actually, while I was there. That was actually my main goal when I went there. But it's the beautiful views of the volcanoes that you can see. I mean, it's some of the most gorgeous views of the area that you can find. And it was just an overall just great relaxing day. Took the day off, didn't work at all, and just hung out with some new friends, and it was great. It was amazing, and I was really happy to take a chance. It's always good to take a break. So that was amazing. The next thing that actually went well was I talked about previous weeks that I needed to improve my diet and start fasting a little bit more, and I was successful in doing that. While I wasn't perfect, I was able to get a few longer fasting days in. I got a 16-hour fast in and a 21-hour fast day in, which I was really pleased about, and looking forward to doing a bit more of that so that I can take off these remaining pounds. I'm a little overweight, maybe 5 or 6 pounds. We'll see how that goes. And I did eat a bit better. Not, as I said, not perfect, not great, but it was better. So I'm just gonna build on that and continue to move forward with the improved diet. And that should be great for me moving forward. And then the final great piece of news is I mentioned previously that I applied for a job back at my old company, go back and work again, which I was there about 5.5 years ago. It's been almost 6 years since I left, and I had a second round of interviews, a technical interview, and that went really, really well. I'm excited about what's going on there. I'm really interested in going back and contributing to the changes there. So I have another interview coming up tomorrow with the product manager in one of the areas. So I'm looking forward to having that discussion as well, kind of get a better feel of the entire environment, not just from the technical standpoint, development standpoint, but also from the product standpoint, and what the goals are in terms of helping the customers and just improving the product offering. It was always a great product, and it was well loved by our users, and I was really excited about that. I was happy to be a part of it, and so that's what's got me excited about going back and participating in that as well. So we'll see, more to come, and I'll keep the channel updated as we go. So what didn't go well? Well, the first thing that I had planned to finish my first course, a Swift UI course in using CreateML. It's actually more of a CreateML course. There's not any Swift UI in this particular course, but it is iOS development, Mac OS development, and I'm a little behind. Actually, I'm a lot behind. Partially because the model has just really been giving me some challenges. I had expected certain results, and I'm just not getting them. And I'm trying to figure out why. So if the problem is in my technique and how I'm building the models and the inputs that I'm having. So I went back and I gathered a lot more data. So my initial model was built with 50 players in one classification and 50 players in another classification. And I'm wondering if that's enough. And so I went back and I found another data source that has about 500 players in it. I'm not going to use all of those players, of course, to build the classifications, but it helps me to have more players to draw from. And I'm finding more interesting things that I'll be doing some separate videos about, just in learning about the history of basketball, the NBA, and some of the statistical numbers are just really weird, and I can't understand why certain players are not in the Hall and some players are. And then there's some just aberrations in stats that are just puzzling me. It's like, how is it even possible to get this kind of stat? So I'd like to dive into that when I have more time, but I'm not pressuring myself on that piece. It's more just to get the course finished, get everything recorded, and get everything uploaded. So hopefully I'll have that finished within the week, and that's the goal, to try to get that moving along. And then the other thing that's not going well is I'm really stuck on picking my next destination. I have been having just analysis paralysis, and I have quite a few options. I have it down to like 5 options and still unable to decide. So I actually posted on social media to get a little bit of help and some suggestions, not just in a destination, but also even in the technique. And it's been great. Been getting a lot of great feedback from people. And if you follow this channel and you've answered on either Instagram or on Facebook, thanks. Like it has helped. Just rethinking how I'm approaching it has been really, really helpful. And I think I'm really close to coming to a decision. So there were no wrong answers. There was no choice that I would make of the 5 options are bad. So there's no wrong choice. It's just a matter of what direction I want to go in right now. So I'd like to keep the momentum going. This was a very good time here in Antigua, Guatemala. These 2 months have been very productive for me. I really made some nice realizations, and it was good to get away from Playa, even though I'm not opposed to going back. That was one of the options. And it was just one of those things where I needed the space and distance and time, and this has been great for that. And it's just a matter of deciding what's the best next step. So moving on into what I've learned. I think I've learned that not all paths are mutually exclusive, and I think that came from the job. I spent so much time in the last 6 years thinking about being an indie developer and really working. It was my 3rd attempt at making a go at making some app that was going to be a big thing, or maybe not super big, but at least sustainable. And it didn't happen again, and I was a little frustrated with it, having to put all my time and just hours and hours into building something. And I realized that I went about some of these things the wrong way in terms of not marketing and not building out in the open, but it's not over. And I sort of looked at taking a job as defeat in a lot of ways, that I'm supposed to be this indie person doing it on my own, and that's not necessarily true. I really had to challenge that and where that came from. And the fact of the matter is, the job that I had was actually the best job I ever had. I really love working there. So it's like, why am I not doing that? It's not, it doesn't stop me from writing the code on the side or creating courses or doing any other things. I mean, there's still plenty of time. I don't have a lot of other obligations. So it wasn't like it was a situation where I didn't have the time to put into other projects. And I also wanted to test this idea of constraints again. Like, I'm really big on having constraints for creativity and time, and it makes you make definitive decisions. So for instance, even in deciding my next destination, if, as it is right now, that I have to leave this apartment on Friday, I have to make a decision by Friday. If I had 3 more weeks to make a decision, I'd probably hem and haw and go through all this stuff and still not make a decision. I mean, I've been here for 2 months almost, and I hadn't made one. So forcing myself to make a decision and not extending, which was one of the options, I've decided to not do that and just go ahead and make a choice and move forward. So having those options, multiple options, they're not all mutually exclusive. So I can have a full-time job and still work on my side projects. There's nothing preventing me from doing that. In fact, it might actually help because I'm still doing the same development in the same area in Swift. And so it's not like I'm doing something completely different. So it would be beneficial, lessons learned and gained, spill over and can go in either direction. And then the other thing that I realized was that I was just missing my true North Star. I spent also in this time really enjoying traveling around the world, making friends, having fun, and but I didn't have a particular goal. And I sat down in one of my accountability calls, and really it was more of a strategy call, where I had to define these deeper whys and really going into why I like this lifestyle that I have and why I like doing it, but also trying to understand for some long-term goals what it is that I really would like to accomplish and how those things go together. So in that regard, I have a 3-year plan, basically 3.5-year plan till the end of 2024. And I have very specific goals that I'll be targeting and trying to hit, and I'll be working it. And they're not big pie in the sky goals. Honestly, I could probably blow past a few of these in large order, and that would be great. But I wanted to set reasonable, attainable goals that I can then go in and drill into and month by month check in, make sure I'm making progress towards those goals, hitting the numbers that I want to hit. And there are things that I can control. I feel like these are things that are not beyond my control. I don't have to depend on popularity. I don't have to depend on extra things outside of myself happening, whether it's this channel or some apps in the App Store or courses going and being like these great things that I can just do and I can control myself and take action on frequently. So that's what I'm working on. And I'll probably share some of that on this channel, being very specific, maybe not going into all of the numbers just because I'm still not comfortable talking about my personal like finance numbers and sharing like income and that type of stuff. I don't know, it's just not something I know other people do it on other channels, and I've mentioned it before, sort of debating whether I do that here, and I'm still just not certain that's something I'm comfortable doing. But I will share like ratios and approaches because I think that is helpful regardless of where you are in your journey on financial freedom and independence or location independence. So I think it would be beneficial to share those things. What scares me or puzzles me, again, I don't have anything I'm necessarily scared of, but I am puzzled, and I talked about this, like the projects not being mutually exclusive and being able to work on both. And my suspicion is that having both a full-time job and these side projects will actually help both, because it'll give me those constraints that I'm looking for and tightly defined time that I have to work on one versus the other. I have to make quick decisions and I have to move forward. I won't spend as much time like debating whether or not I should do one thing or the other. And then finally, what's next? It's just deciding, again, where am I going? Like, where am I headed next? Hopefully I'll make a decision very, very soon. I may actually have a decision by the end of the night. Again, I have a looming deadline of Friday, which means I need to go ahead and book tickets. I need to schedule a test if I'm going to go to certain countries so that I can get tested, like PCR test or whatnot, before I take off and pack my bags and get ready to go. So we'll see how that works. All in all, this has been an amazing time here. This week has been great, and I'm looking forward to, if this is my final week here in Antigua, just having an amazing final week before I leave Guatemala, if I do indeed, or at the very least, leave Antigua and head for the lake. I hope you're having an amazing week. Share with me in the comments what it is, the major thing that you want to get done this week, or if you're struggling with a decision. Also, let me know what it is that you're struggling with, and I'll drop a link if you want to do a discovery call. This is a free call for 30 minutes. I love having those discussions, and I'll drop a link for that below. So feel free to hit me up on the available times. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. Cheers.